So welcome to Yorktivist Human Rights Festival, and we've got our Q&A today with Sergio, the maker of Flamingos, which we're all really looking forward to. I'm Emma Taylor and I'll be chairing the discussion today, and I work supporting asylum seekers and migrants and promoting and managing refugee resettlement programs in the UK. And a large part of my role is looking at integration and supporting migrants to find a space in UK society, to understand their rights and to give them the tools to access education and support networks. So we're really delighted today to be joined by the filmmaker, Sergio. Anyone here, you are very welcome to ask questions. And if you've got any questions, if you can pop them into the chat, just put your hand up, and myself and Vanessa will make sure that we bring those questions forward. So maybe we could start. Sergio, maybe can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me, for accepting the short film Flamingos. It was my first, and it's a real pleasure to be here with you. About myself, well, I'm Italian. I'm from Sardinia, and I've always been focusing on being a filmmaker in my mind. But then, for circumstances of life, I studied other. I am a biologist and ecologist, and also nutritionist, and other things that really not belongs to filmmaking. That I study photography, creative writing. And then one day I decided that I can't do anything but filmmaking. So now I'm trying to kickstart this career with short films and maybe one day feature films. I have my second one, I'm already shoot. A very different topic. It is now in post-production, it's ready really. And Flamingos was my first and was born from a desire to tell something that was really meaningful in a short time and in a period 2016, 2017, when there was a huge migration pressure in Italy, and people were like overwhelmed by kind of propaganda from far-right parties that were really making people annoyed, even if they weren't annoyed. I mean, it was like a very strong topic, and I felt it was the time to tell a story, and that was the story, basically.
That's great. That's a great introduction. Thank you very much. So the film, you made it in 2017. How much do you think has changed in Sardinia since you made the film, with people's attitudes to migration?
Well, I have to confess that the migration pressure now is lower, according to part of the European collaboration, and part of because probably that's not really good, kind of deals with Libyan government and other governments, so they just stopped people there, and also with ONG, also Italian government, not the actual, but like 3 government before, because there were a lot of changes, made a lot of laws against ONG. So basically, people that are not. Now is a little bit easier probably, but in my opinion, only because even earlier people really doesn't have a real problem, just were fueled by media. Because I don't know a single person that had a problem with immigrants. It just was a general wave. So the perception probably is different just because the media are not more interested in that topic. So, but people that were against before are still against, and people who were okay are still okay, and the vast majority that are just don't caring a lot probably are really the same. So it's nothing really changed in terms of perception. It's strange, but I think it's like that.
Okay, and what kind of reaction did you get to your film in Sardinia?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Well, my film wasn't made with the aim to talk with people that were already okay with migration. That doesn't make sense to me. Films doesn't give you solution, but it's important and makes you think about some things, and maybe with a gentle, not gentle, with a kind of delicate tone, you can arrive to people that were against. And that's what I try to do, and I try to do, sorry. It generally was good, was a very good reaction. I have to admit that someone was irritated. And it's fine. It's even good, because I said, yeah, well, I'm not okay with what you're saying, but maybe said, maybe you're right, but I just can't deal with it, because I mean, there are so much media going on about telling about these things that people were just on two parties, okay or not okay. So basically, people loved the film, I have to admit it. And even someone that I know that were a little bit against, and then said, yeah, that feels made me think that maybe then in the reality, it's not like just an idea, are people coming. So, you know, people like you and me, so what's the problem really? A very few, the number was a very few people really. So it wasn't a problem, a real problem.
Okay.
And people reaction good, but someone not. And that was good, because it was important with people to then try to tell, it's fine if you're not okay, just maybe a chance to think.
Yeah, absolutely. Sergio, I've got a question from Simon.
Yeah, sure.
He says, did you hope to make the point that the flamingos can make their home in a new environment and blend in so people can too?
Yeah, that was exactly the key point I was trying to say, because, you know, in Sardinia, flamingos were, especially in the south of Sardinia, are like a symbol of, you know, the cool birds that are so calm, and actually they are immigrants, and and occupy the land of other birds, and all is fine, all is totally fine. Look, in biology it can be different, but in this situation it's totally good. And so when you said, oh, flamingos, it is something that belongs to you from 20 years, not earlier than 20 years. And before wasn't something, it was so simple, the idea, so direct, I have to admit, that people said, yeah, it's exactly like that. So yeah, that was the basic idea. That is also in the character of the movie, the old man, the actor, is not an actor. It is really, it wasn't okay with immigration. He's also a far right person in a way. So it was very good, because he even experienced that thing and said, no, you're right, just put away something on the wall. I can't say what it was on the wall, but it was a very far right thing. Said, no, it's all out, it's fine. So it was a natural fiction in the documentary, and it was exactly what I was trying to do. So trying to make it super simple, the metaphorical thing.
So how did you find him and get him involved in the filming? Was it someone you already knew, or?
No, well, it's I decided that I had to shoot this film after, well, I can't be too specific, but after someone famous used a story similar to write his own story. So basically was a thief. And so I decided to shoot, and I haven't a production company, I haven't obviously a casting director or anything. So I just start to drive around the lagoon and ask people, just stop and say, hi, I want to shoot a film. Could you help me? Like that. So I drink some glasses of wine with fishermen and became friends. And then they said, oh, I know this man, it is very famous here. And he's like the king of the lagoon. Like, if you want, I can introduce you to him. And I go to him, we drink a bit, and he talked about Second World War when he was a kid and things. So we can kind of, if not friends, but establish a connection. And he already starred in a documentary. So I asked him, can we shoot in your barn? That obviously he have a very good houses. He's just a barn from fishing, and he's retired. He was also a politician in the town. Like, yeah, it's a very complicated, interesting life. And said, yeah, we can absolutely shoot. I mean, you can do whatever you want here. And so we did. And so it was a real adventure. This is the only thing when you shoot with a very few resources. It's the same with my second short film. It's bigger in purposes and days of shooting, but it was exactly like that, asking people to help, trying to be polite, trying to get in touch, to tell fiction without with a glimpse of reality as well, in a way. That's the only thing, probably.
That's fantastic. That's such a fantastic story that you found him in that way, and that kind of leads us on to talking about how you shot the film. And Vanessa's put a comment, a question. You shot the film within a single night. What do you remember most about that experience?
Oh well, if I let's say two things. Technically speaking, what I remember was that wasn't easy. But at the same time, I had the feeling that we were doing something beautiful. It was a feeling. And what I remember most was like at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, we were in March, was freezing. And I was not feeling the cold, probably because I was too excited. And we made a stop to eat. And the fisherman, Mr. Antonio Tocco, decided to cook for us some pasta. And we went, well, no, we're the catering. No, we need my pasta. And so, okay. And I go out from the bar and I stay like 10 minutes looking at the lagoon and the lights, and the cold. And I was thinking that was exactly the place where I want to be and exactly what I would love to do for the rest of my life. It was a moment of enlightenment, really. And that's what I remember most. Yeah, one night and a few hours, just from the sunset to sunrise, really. And it was really romantic, if I can say, in a way. It was difficult and it was the only way, because the crew offered me for help. They say, well, we have just one day, man. We have to go. So that's what I did.
Wow, fantastic. That's great. Thank you. And you've referred to your background as a biologist. Is that something that made you kind of explore the migration of the flamingos to Sardinia, or can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, the reality is that I used and still to run, to go to jogging, okay. And yeah, when I live, there are a lot of nature around. And I used to look up and see all those birds and say, I was writing this story without flamingos in the first instance. And I said, that's what I need to say. They are just going up and forth from Africa here. And it was a moment where everybody was really angry with immigrants, even people it was huge. And so, yeah, I also asked to other colleagues that now were proper biologists and said, yeah, that's appropriate, that's true. And so in a way, probably, I don't know, but probably also the fact that I studied biology helped me. I have a different background. I studied the classical Lyceum, so Old Greek, Latin, more literature in high school, and science. In Italy is different, and then biology. But was like, I had my master's degree at probably 10 years or 8 years earlier than when I shoot. So it was in a distant time. But yeah, that attention from nature belongs to me, because I grew up also going every weekend in the countryside with my parents. So it's something that is about my background in a way. So yeah, maybe it helped me, probably. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And can you tell us anything about the other people acting in the film, the family, the child, and the parents that we see at the end?
Yeah, well, In the end, first of all, the main character probably of the co-lead, I don't know, because they are but the important is the same. A girl adopted by two person, obviously, a couple from Sardinia. We are still in touch, and now she's like in high school and is doing very well. And we also chat sometimes, and so we got others. Where real people arrived from the sea, and from what I remember, because then sadly I lost touch with them, but since they were still in Sardinia, and one of them was working as a tailor, okay, and the other one, from what I remember, decided to go to Milan. But I asked the editor who asked them to cast, to be the cast, and she lost their numbers, really. So I don't know, but I still hope that they are fine and all and good. I really hope so, because they were so kind, and they were exactly doing something that really is for them in a way.
That's really powerful. Yeah, well, I do hope they manage to get back in touch with you. Hopefully they'll see the film.
I tried to ask the editor whether, because I don't have the phone now. It was something very quick, like, do you know something? And yeah, I know something. We're doing a laboratory with them, but I hope that they see the movie. I try also to look for them in social, but it was difficult to find them. So I will try again, because maybe, you know, there could be still a chance.
Yeah,
it would be lovely, really, and maybe to invite them to another interview will be so much interesting, probably more interesting to talk with me, really.
Yeah. Oh no, that would be amazing. And Sergio, I'd really like to have the chance to ask you about your latest project, but I know that we're sort of running out of time. So before we move on, is there anything else you'd like to say about Flamingos that we haven't discussed yet, or any points you want to raise?
Well, I think it's not important to talk about technical wise. I mean, there are a lot of things to say about the directing, other things, but probably about the meaning that's more important, more interesting for people, and maybe we'll see this interview or still online, is that it's always time to talk about the fact that people belongs to the same place in terms of the world. I mean, that seems cliche, seems naive, but I have still a problem with walls, with borders. I understand, but I still think that it's something that we still have to work inside of us, because, you know, a lawyer should be a lawyer, but if someone is here, arrives here, no matter what, please take a chance to see it as a human being, not just a problem, because everybody of us is south from someone else, or is you know, a foreigner for something else. So it's just try to feel, if you are in another place and you don't speak the language, or you were refused, how could you feel? So we are just lucky to be born in a place that maybe is easier than others, but everybody of us could be immigrants in a philosophical sense of view. So it's always time to talk about differences and borders. That's the only thing I would like to say.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Sergio. That's really powerful. Now, perhaps we can move on. And could you tell us about your latest project, which I think is currently in post-production?
Yeah, well, it's really just it's officially in post-production, because we are still dealing with music rights. We're almost arrived to sort it out. It's a story about, how can I say, loneliness and grief and love. Is a love story, really, in COVID times. So it's about an old man who lives alone, is attended by his granddaughter, not supportive really, because life is different for her, until one day something happened. So it's an exploration of old age in our times, where COVID is also boost the loneliness of old people. And so it's social in a way of exploring the feelings that everybody felt probably during pandemic. It's not a story about pandemic, really. The pandemic is just a frame. It's just because now everything is that we lived in pandemic. And so it's basically a story of loneliness and a romance, a drama and a romance. I tried to make something in poetry about loneliness and love. That's it. And it's ready, really. Just we used a music piece, and that even the old man, it is a very important actor here. We really wanted to, and we edited with that music, and then we found out that it cost a lot of money, and we have a Kickstarter campaign running to sort it out, these things, and people were supporting us, and now we need something more, but we are on our way. It's really just, we can put it out for festivals before having everything sorted out.
Oh, well, I hope you manage to get everything sorted really soon. That sounds really exciting. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions for Sergio? Or Sergio, is there anything that we haven't discussed yet that you think would be relevant, or anything that you'd like to raise?
Well, I think that the only thing I want to raise is to thank you for what you're doing. And because despite this festival is, you know, maybe there are not so many people listening to me, but the important thing is that I hope that many people will listen to bigger filmmakers, maybe, and then it's something that should grow. And it's important that, you know, cinema, I do films for art's sake, really. It's just not only to tell things relevant. But the thing is that at the end, I just find myself to write story that means something about social values. That's the thing. So a festival like yours is important because raise questions about things. And almost every piece of art should be this kind of urgency to tell something. So what I want to say is just thank you. And maybe if someone is watching this, have a look at my website to know more about my new project, and see Flamingos if you haven't chance yet, see Without You, see the Kickstarter Ifini, and follow me and follow Yorktivist, please. And
fantastic. That's great. Simon, sorry, you had your hand up. Is that your question in the chat?
Do you have any interest in doing documentaries at all?
Yeah, well, I have interest. I have interest, obviously. If I had to choose, I probably more about fiction in terms, because it's more, for me as a directorial point of view, it's more cinematic. Okay. But I'd love to do a doc. It's a fiction, but maybe I need to research about Vietnamese prostitution and girls that are kidnapped in Cambodia. So it's something that probably is easier to go as a documentary. But I have an interest in documentary. Just it's a different form of storytelling. It requires a different approach. But yeah, sure, absolutely.
Wow, yeah, that sounds fascinating. That sounds really amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. I've so enjoyed talking to you, Sergio. It's been great being introduced to your film, and I'm really looking forward to your new project coming out. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. This has been recorded, so Vanessa will be adding links to the website. And yes, please do check out all of Sergio's new work coming up and have a look at his website. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you to you all, and hope I will keep following, obviously, Yorktivist and masterclass when I can, and hope to meet you one day in person in York with the next edition, maybe if I'm lucky enough to be selected for something else. And Wish you a good day, and thanks to everyone. We will watch this interview later on.